Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and we got as far as I think 210 on XRP in the last couple of days, up 11.44% on the last 7 days. CZ Binance has it 1,000% right. He says, crypto market is tiny, the technology potential is huge, all unrealized, just the beginning. 1,000% right. That's why I keep telling you, this is the number I'm interested in. 3.11 trillion total market cap, with tens to hundreds of trillion coming sooner rather than later. XRP's up 13% in 7 days. I tweeted this out earlier this morning. Nice start to 2026. And then Bank XRP lays it out. XRP market update, January 3rd. XRP's reclaimed the $2 psychological level. I think that's big. Surging plus 7% in 24 hours, ranking overtakes competitors to become number 4 crypto in market cap. Institutional demand, 13.5 million fresh ETF inflows recorded today. Volume up 160%, signaling high conviction. You can feel it now, folks. XRP surpasses 126 billion market cap. And listen to this. You know, I can remember not more than a week or two ago, this guy was bashing XRP. Listen to this.
For example, let's pick the two that I don't remember whether it was Tillman or Andrew mentioned. So two of the coins that are on there are XRP and Solana. Mm-hmm. XRP and Solana and a bunch of others are vying to be the base layer to support new transactions.
Remember what Mark Yusko said, who bashes XRP all the time? He let it slip out in a video one time that he's hearing rumors that XRP would be the base layer of the national banking system.
Action modalities. Now, boy, does that sound geeky. But the fact is that the way exchanges work and the way money moves when it is right now, everything is centralized exchanges. Everything is done via proprietary systems. Both XRP more in payments and Solana more in trading are vying to be part of a newer globalized infrastructure. If those things take form, so if Solana broadens beyond memes to trading of everything, then it's going to be worth a shit ton more than it is today. The total addressable market for providing that as a base layer is significant. The same thing with XRP with regard to payments and SWIFT. And if XRP underlies the stable coins that are become, if basically not just RLUSD, but if Chase coin and JP Morgan coin all use the XRP ledger, then it will have value. If it doesn't, it won't. And so it really...
RLUSD was at number 55 or 56 this morning, the highest I've seen it when I checked, by the way.
It becomes a question of that word that I think it was Andrew that used, which is utility. If they have utility, they will be worth more. Elsewise...
No. What have we been telling you for 8 years? No utility, no value. That's been the whole conversation. Meanwhile, guys like this have been talking up Bitcoin for all these years, knowing it has no utility.
On the screen. And of course, you could mention Ether in the same thing in terms of tokenization. And so, that's a big...
Good clip. Senator Loomis, this is for all the marbles, folks. For far too long, unclear rules have pushed digital asset companies offshore. Market structure legislation changes that by establishing clear jurisdictions, strong protections, ensuring America leads the way. Let's get this done. We're about to see a lot of drama over the next month or two. I believe prices will start moving ahead of it. And then this is, I've played you this clip from Raoul Pal. And this is Tom Lee, who is a Ethereum guy, but what he's saying here is right about what's coming in 2026.
Like 2026 is a year like there's a new Fed, right? But a dovish tilt. And at a time when the ISM's been below 50 for a record more than 3 years. So that's really good for small caps. And as Barry says, if they deregulate banking, and we were talking about this offline, that's really good for small caps. But that's also really good for the business cycle. And we've talked about this in some of our past research. Crypto prices are really sensitive to the ISM. So the ISM moving back above 50 has historically been associated with actually super cycle moves in Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Wait, ISM going into expansion territory is positive for Bitcoin? And
correct.
For all, interesting.
Yeah, and so if you look at ISM and Bitcoin, and you detrend Bitcoin, essentially look at its distance from the 200-day, it's almost perfectly correlated to the ISM.
Surprising.
And same thing with copper to gold prices. So copper's an industrial metal versus gold is a money.
Right, but all of that tells you that it's basically just risk on, that they're all behaving like an economy. And am I overcharacterizing
Yeah, I think
it?
I think that's right. I think Bitcoin's a bit of a chameleon because there'll probably be a time when it acts like gold, but right now it acts a lot more like it's sensitive to monetary policy and the business cycle, and both are about to turn up. So that would mean anybody who thinks the Bitcoin 4-year cycle means crypto prices are down next year, we're betting against that, thinking that new highs come early.
Oh yeah, I think they're coming. Now this is the guy from Robinson Berkey from Wormhole that's a partner with Ripple.
So it's here, but I think one of the biggest blockers now is not settlement, not throughput. It's not. It's sorry. I'll get to the point. It's privacy, and I think that when I talk to J.P. Morgan, they have their own chain. They have their own private chain, and they're just going to settle all these things in their own private chain until they feel like these public chains have enough of the infrastructure to be able to do things out in public. And so when I think,
which public chain could that be?
About the next leg up of institutional adoption, and sorry to be so long-winded, but I do think privacy is key to that for all the reasons we've talked up here.
Okay, now this is Caroline Pham, who was a commissioner at the CFTC, and then left to go to MoonPay, and you've seen the pictures of her at Ripple's headquarters with Brad Garlinghouse. She's telling you what's coming.
Excited to have her. She is the Chief Legal Officer and Chief Administrative Officer at MoonPay. She joins us down here on the trading floor of the big board. Thank you for being here, and a very happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. It's so great to be here.
Caroline, can we start first and foremost? What are you hoping to achieve in your new role with MoonPay?
Well, what's really exciting about starting at MoonPay is that MoonPay is the most trusted infrastructure partner. It's a global value network, and I think as we see increased institutional adoption in crypto and blockchain technology for 2026, it's going to be really key that you have those partners that understand how to scale responsibly and be compliant, especially with KYC, AML, and other important protections.
Do you have an outlook for increased institutional adoption for crypto in the new year?
Oh yes, 100%. So institutions have been working on blockchain technology and tokenization and crypto as an asset class since at least 2017, sometimes even 2016. I started working on it in 2017, 2018 when I was at Citi. And so you've had the proofs of concept, you've had the pilots. All of these institutions, from the biggest banks to asset managers to exchanges and clearinghouses, have already been, for almost the last 10 years, working on tokenization and this technology. So now, with regulatory clarity over the past year, from the White House crypto report, which laid out the U.S. policy roadmap, to my efforts at the CFTC when I was acting chairman with the Crypto Sprint, and the SEC Chairman Atkins' efforts with Project Crypto, you are now seeing that all come together this year for institutional adoption.
Caroline, what do you think will most separate crypto companies that scale versus those that may stall and have a little bit more difficulty scaling in this new look environment?
So it is always product market fit. But with crypto, as with any emerging area where there's risks and there's a lot of uncertainty, it is going to be those who understand how to be regulatory compliant, who don't fight this idea that you do need to have protections against illicit finance, and who know how to, again, be that trusted infrastructure partner to regulated institutions, to be that brand of safety and trust for consumers. That's what's really going to differentiate. So if you're able to understand how to adapt to this environment to ensure you have product market fit and you're safe with the right governance, controls, and compliance in place, that's the winning formula.
What does the right governance look like? What does strong governance look like for the space? Undoubtedly, 2025, a ton of new momentum was put into the space, and rules of the road were changed. And everyone I've spoken to said a very favorable way, but I'd imagine strong governance is something you're probably the ultimate pro to talk about.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. So what I think really differentiates it, right, is that people used to think that you needed to break everything and have completely new rules for crypto and for blockchain technology. And that's not true. I mean, we're here at the New York Stock Exchange. When we went from paper tickets, right, to electronic screens and now to digitalization and tokenization, we didn't throw all the rules out of the road, out of the window, right? We have just rules of the road that are clear by understanding how you take securities laws, for example, and apply it to tokenized securities instrument. It's just a different format from paper to electronic to now digital. So it's the same thing. If you are able to think about the existing rules, how to apply them to the new technology, not throwing it out of the window, but just understanding how to apply it, that's the difference. And that's exactly what the regulators did last year. What I did at the CFTC and what the SEC did was to show you how you could take the existing laws and rules, use innovation exemptions, and use more flexible interpretations to take the rules that work for securities exchanges and futures exchanges and apply it to crypto as an asset class, and most importantly for tokenization and blockchain technology. That infrastructure, it doesn't change. The rules are technology neutral.
Sure. I was a Capitol Hill reporter at a time when members of Congress of both parties were really starting to learn what blockchain technology and cryptocurrency was. I think that conversation has really changed a lot since when I started down there in 2017. I wonder, from where you're situated, are there things policymakers may still slightly not understand or not quite get right about the crypto space?
Sure. I think this idea, again, thinking that crypto is breaking all the rules or that you need to start fresh, that's not true. You take what works, you use what works, and you scale from there. And so that's why, for example, with my Leverage Spot Crypto initiative, when I was acting chairman, we took crypto as an asset class and put that on futures exchanges. It's worked for 100 years. It's the same thing with securities exchanges, right? Those rules have the best for investor protection, for liquidity, for capital efficiency, and most importantly, for institutions. They're already plugged in. They have the policies and procedures, they have the governance, they have the compliance, and they have the risk management to use those established platforms. So I think 2026 not only being about institutional adoption, but it's about having choice. It's the choice to decide if you want to use your existing framework with state laws, or hopefully with market structure legislation, having a new unified federal regime, or using the existing regime with the appropriate exemptions and interpretation. So you have the choice. You can use futures or securities exchanges, you could use potentially new platforms under the market structure legislation, or you can use your existing state platforms. It's about choice and access to markets.
Caroline, I wish I can continue with...
Okay, we're going to go into DAIXRP.com. That's the Patreon. If you'd rather join through YouTube, you can click join below any of these videos, or you can join through X by hitting subscribe. And in there, we're going to talk about the Venezuelan oil situation. I've told you probably for 6 or 7 years that I was told XRP was created to replace the petrodollar system. So I find it interesting that all this is going on. I'm a digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe. Hit the like button. Tell your friends and family. Away we go. Here's Trump talking about it.
In other words, we'll be selling oil probably in much larger doses because they couldn't produce very much because their infrastructure was so bad. So we'll be selling large amounts of oil to other countries, many of whom are using it now, but I would say many more will come.
Now, are you saying
Now, the significance of this is that Venezuela has more oil reserves than any other country. Here's a visualization of it. Venezuela, 303 billion barrels versus Saudi Arabia, 267. And by the way, while all this is going on, I've also told you that I think Starlink is going to be how they bank the unbanked. They activate free internet in Venezuela until February 2026. You have to wonder if that's a coincidence. Here's a great explanation, and this is from, I think this is from, I want to say this is from the Amazon Prime show. I think it was called Jack Ryan. I watched part of it. I think it was the Tom Clancy thing. But this is an interesting scene where he breaks down the importance of Venezuela.
What would you assume is the most major threat on the world stage? Anybody, just call it out. You don't have to raise your hand.
Definitely Russia.
Definitely Russia. That's confident. I like it. Who says Russia? Anybody agree with her? Hands? Okay, great. Who else?
China.
Stop yelling at me, but China is a good answer. Anybody? Who else? China?
North Korea?
North Korea. Any North Korea takers? And Venezuela? Anybody? No? Oh, yeah. One guy in the back. A little worried about Venezuela. Everybody's cool with Venezuela? No threat? Okay. Let me ask you this. Which one of these places can claim to have the largest oil deposit on the planet? More than Saudi, more than Iran. Wow. Okay, what about things like gold? More than all the mines in Africa combined? The fact is that Venezuela is arguably the single greatest resource of oil and minerals on the planet. So, why is this country in the midst of one of the greatest humanitarian crises in modern history? Let's meet President Nicolas Reyes. After rising to power on a wave
Any of this sound familiar?
of nationalist pride, in a mere 6 years, this guy has crippled the national economy by half. He has raised the poverty rate by almost 400%. Luckily for the rest of us, he's up for
You really have to wonder if we haven't been programmed with all these TV shows.
election. So, who's running against him? This is Gloria Bonalde. Now, Gloria is a history professor turned activist. She's running against him on a social justice platform and on the strength of, in my humble opinion, just not being an asshole. Analyst predictions, as of today, have the chances of Venezuela's total economic collapse at 87%. On the news, they'll call it a crisis. But on the world stage, they'll call it a failed state. If you've never heard that term, other examples of a failed state in recent history are Yemen, Iraq, and Syria. And if that's not bad enough news for you, well, Venezuela is also the only one of these places within 30-minute range from the U.S. of next-gen nuclear missiles. You will not hear about any of this on the news because the biggest players on the world stage do not want you to. To them, unstable governments are nothing more than the greatest of opportunities. So, Russia, China, can never be the most major threat until countries like Venezuela leave the door open to our very own backyard.
That's what this is all about. Now, this is a really good clip I wanted to play you because it shows you how far we've come in crypto. I can remember everything they're talking about here.
I want to ask you guys both the question. Over the last 10 years, go back as far as you can remember. Do you remember how big of a pain it was to do anything in the space? Like literally just sending any crypto to anybody was that
Bitcoin transaction took like 16 hours.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I would ask myself like, man, I must be nuts because I really like doing this, even though it's kind of hard.
By the way, my first Bitcoin transaction took something like that too, and I was sitting there waiting on all these confirmations. That's literally how I found XRP. Once I found XRP, Bitcoin made no sense to me, and it hasn't made any sense ever since.
Harder than the real world in a lot of ways. Well, we've gotten to a place where it's not anymore. It's easy. And I think the entire inclusion of real world assets in the conversation are only because Wall Street sees dollar signs attached to their products becoming relevant again, basically.
That's a good thing. But yeah, that's the story of Bitcoin. Ever since then, I've thought it was a prototype, and I still think it today. Thanks for listening.